It is supposed to be 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you're tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. That this is ChipChat. Now get ready. We're gonna do this. You see if I still can do it, right?
I've missed this song.
Yeah, it's the same song. I'm Chip. With me is Fish, and together that makes us
Don't do it.
Ham and Eggs.
Okay, good.
It's good. It's still funny.
Christ.
I went back and listened to so many of those old ones to like figure out which ones I hadn't used. I've used every combination I could think of, so I just had to pick one.
I'm really glad you brought that bit back. But it's good to be back. Good to be back on the show. Really excited.
We're very happy to have you. Also, Tez, who are you, buddy?
You just told him, man.
There you go.
It's good to know that this shit is still the same.
Yeah. All right, and there's another face if
Yes.
you're watching, because this is radio and people watch radio now. That's Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
How you doing? How's life?
So, yeah, this is a special edition of Chip Chat. It's special because Fish is back, and also he's going to help us talk to Jeff Perlman, who has a new book out about Tupac, of all things. Oh, you got your copy already?
I've been reading it, bro.
How did you get it faster?
Look at that.
I got to have a word with Bezos.
Check out your local bookstores.
Local Barnes and Noble.
There we go. Yeah, your local big chain. Hey, you know, wherever you can get the book, buy the book. Exactly.
Local bookstore.
Local bookstore,
mom
right?
and pops are always best.
I couldn't
Right.
get out. I've got the never mind. All right. So
Excuses.
yeah,
You have enough already today.
this is a maximum co-host show, which means I'm gonna do less than usual. For the first little bit, we're gonna let everybody else do all the talking. And then after we talk to Jeff, we'll have the headlines and some other stuff and, you know, all of the things. So you want to do the word? Or you want to just get right into the interview?
I think you
Let's
should
jump right
jump
in.
straight into the interview. That's what
Let's
I
do it.
think.
Let's
I
do
was
the
producing
interview.
the show. I would do.
All right.
Go straight
I'm going to do my one part, which is this cool intro that I wrote. I'm super proud of. Jeff Perlman is a writer who has written for Sports Illustrated, Newsday, and is a columnist for ESPN, amongst many other things. Like Joey Flacco, he is a blue hen, and unlike Joey Flacco, he has written a whole lot of books, including biographies of Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Walter Payton, just to round it out. He's also written about sports dynasties like the stupid Cowboys and the Showtime Lakers, which was made into an HBO series, Winning Time. He also has a blog and appears all the time on various podcasts, and in this case on a live radio show where we are going to ask him about his new book about well-known sports figure Tupac, which is called Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. Jeff Perlman and his new book. Welcome to Chip Chat.
He's here.
I just want to
So
say, you mentioned Joe Flacco. So I've written 11 books, and Flacco, I think, has played for 8 or 9 NFL teams. And I feel like I'm trying to stay ahead of my fellow Blue Hen, but it's getting close. It's getting very
he's
close.
catching up.
Bengals I didn't see the Bengals twist coming, so it's a little
You
scary.
might have to write
Apparently,
another
neither
book
did Mike
this year.
Tomlin. He's like Mike
Yeah.
Tomlin's all furious about some sort of like Ohio conspiracy against him in the division or something like that.
He's always been wary of Flacco. That's always been his thing.
Yeah,
Because he's a Blue Hen. It's because he's a
There you
Blue
go.
Hen. He's
the
a fan.
terrifying football powerhouse of Delaware. Okay, so before we get into this, we do want to say that we have some very qualified people here to ask you about these things. Fish is a musician and has done documentary work and knows all kinds of things. Tez is a MC musician also and reads a million books. And I am none of those things. I'm a failed musician and I don't know how to read. So I am grateful that you chose to come talk to us first amongst all of your other options. But, why did you choose me as opposed to these other two very qualified people?
You're better looking.
See?
Exactly.
That's always
Okay.
been the case.
That's it. Oh, I got it. You're better looking. That's it.
You did.
I always go to the better look. That's how I end up on Levitard.
Nah, there you go.
All right, smart guys, take it away.
Jeff, I literally came out of ChipChat retirement just to talk to you. I've been following your career for a long time now. I'm a Mets fan from New York as well. So I first became aware of your work way back, I think 2004. I think your first book, if I'm not mistaken, The Bad Guys Won, about the 86 Mets. I've read that one multiple times. So it's been very cool to, really just follow your career and see all the success you've had. So let's just jump right into this. I know years ago you were being interviewed and you were asked, what would be your dream topic in the future? And even back then you said Tupac. And here I am holding the book in my hands. It's a reality. So, why was Tupac a dream topic all this time?
First of all, I don't think I've ever felt more satisfied seeing my book. Even I was driving somewhere today and I had the book in the passenger seat. And when you have a dream and maybe it was my first book meant a lot. The USFL book meant a lot. I mean, they all mean a lot, but this one, it's just really unlikely. It's just unlikely. And, the LA Times did a story about it today. And the whole theme was the unlikeliness of this guy writing a Tupac book. And I'm very satisfied by that. I'm a hip hop fan. I've said this a few times, but it's true. I'm like the cliche if there were a movie where it's the small white town, the class of 330 graduating in 1990. And there are two black kids in the class. I'm the white kid, and John Powell, one of the two black kids in my class, is my best friend. The whole town is listening to Aerosmith and Rolling Stones and Whitesnake and all that crap. And my friend introduces me to the first song really was Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos by Public Enemy. I listened to it and I'm just like, whoa, what? And then I'm listening to Heavy D and the Boys and Big Daddy Kane. And one of the funny moments actually was as a senior in high school, I was listening to this song called I Get the Job Done by Big Daddy Kane over and over and over again. And I thought, I'm going to bring this to the high school dance and they're going to play it at the dance, right? In the cafeteria in the high school. And I bring my copy of the Big Daddy Kane CD tape. And I'm tell the DJ, can you play this song? Can you play this song? Everyone's going to love it. And he puts it on. I swear to God, he puts it on and people are dancing. And I would say 30 seconds in, the dance floor just starts to vanish. And by the end, it is an empty dance floor. And it reminds me of this scene in Back to the Future where Michael J. Fox plays a guitar and everyone just is looking at him and he says, your kids are going to love it. And I bet if I went back to my town now, they're all listening to Kendrick Lamar and Drake and J. Cole. It's just time. Yeah. So I always loved hip hop. I love Tupac. I think he's a mystique galore. I think there's so much mythology about him, but mythology doesn't always mean truth. I think there are a lot in YouTube on hip hop. YouTube now is big and it's a lot of paying for stories. And when you're paying for stories, it's a good question whether how much of it is true or not. Mm. So I just, I don't know. Can you guys hear me clearly, by the way?
Yeah, perfect.
We're just rapping.
We're just listening. I'm taking it all in.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to write a true book about a guy I really found fascinating and figure out what his life was and do my best. It's a weird choice. I'm a white sports writer. I understand it's unconventional and the criticism of it is kind of fair. I get it. I have to explain myself. I get it. But I think at the end of the day, I hope reporting is reporting. And if you bust your ass, maybe you can do it justice.
So you talked about that, and that's kind of my next question. You guys okay with that? Yeah. So, you talked about being a sports writer, being an outsider. What are some of the barriers that you had to face to gain some trust? Did the fact that you have been involved with some of the HBO series, did that help? Did it hurt? Did you have a lot of skepticism? And sort of the second part of that question is, I know you spoke to so many people to interviewed so many people for this book. I think over 650, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Members of the Shakur family. Are you still in touch with them now that the book's out? Are they supportive? How is that whole process? How'd that whole process work out for you?
Yeah. So first, all right. So I had a podcast maybe 4 months ago, where it was a 2.5 hour podcast about my life and my career. And they asked about Tupac. And I kind of flippantly, this is going to sound dumb, but I think it's actually true. You're so used to talking sports and sports is like, man, Justin Fields sucks or Bo Jackson is great. And you just it's all hyperbole and stretching. And they asked me something about Tupac. And I was like, Tupac couldn't fight he couldn't fight and he couldn't, fire a gun and he wasn't good with a gun and blah, blah, blah. I said this minute long at most thing. And I never thought of it again. And it got clipped and it wound up on social media and I got eviscerated, absolutely eviscerated. I'd never been called a culture vulture in my life. And I've written about, obviously, athletes from all walks of life. Walter Payton desegregating the schools in Mississippi. Barry Bonds growing up, the son of a baseball player who faced all kind of racism, Bobby Bonds and Willie, all that stuff, right? And it was a really important moment for me, like a really important moment for me where I was like, wait a second, like Tupac is not Bo Jackson. This isn't Walter Payton. This is a cultural icon. It's different than a sports icon. In fact, it's even different than writing about Stevie Wonder or Lionel Richie or pick your Motown singer. It's different. Tupac represents something. And the last thing people need are the flip comments of a white sports writer talking about Tupac. And it was important. It was important that it happened then instead of now, right? So that was big. When I was working on the book, the interesting thing was I expected a barrier. And maybe there were people who didn't talk to me because of it. But two things I had going for me that I didn't anticipate. Number one, Winning Time was on during the time I was working on some of the book. And that just carried some weight. Oh, have you guys seen the HBO show Winning Time? Yeah, that's my book. Whoa, what? That's your book? That's the show. I love that show. Mm-hmm. So that was good. Number two is like, in a way, someone said this to me the other day, not being a hip hop insider means I have no allegiances. And there's not a track record of me slamming Tupac, slamming Biggie, talking about my love of this rapper. Oh, this guy used to write for XXL. That magazine sucks. I'm more of a source. None of that. Zero. Literally zero. And usually I would just go into a setting and say, like oftentimes, I went to Marin City, sat down with some of the crack dealers, the old crack dealers in Marin City. And I'd be like, look, man, I'm a white guy from rural New York. My dad was a CPA named Stanley. Like, we have nothing in common. You know, I understand that. I didn't worry about violence. My family wasn't addicted to crack. But you will never have anyone who is more interested in what you have to say than me. And I mean that sincerely every time I said it. You will never have anyone more interested in me. And my dad, who died during the course of this book and was the biggest impact on my life and my career, used to always say to me, what is the number one thing people like talking about? And the answer is themselves.
Of course.
And if you're willing to listen to people talk about themselves, you can go a long way. So that for me was big. I don't remember what part two of your question was, which is why I try not to ask part two questions, even though I always do.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Is the Shakur family, the estate, are they on board?
The estate, I would say probably not. But the estate, it's really interesting. It's actually interesting. I haven't talked about this, but a lot of people are saying, like, they'll be like, culture vulture. You like, how does the estate feel about it, culture vulture? And the funny thing is, you don't want to see what the people running the Shakur estate actually look like. Because I'm just saying, like, it's not what you think. Yeah. And the person who helped me the most, I would say, there were really three women. Women were the most important people in Tupac's life, in my opinion. One was his sister, Set, who lives in New Orleans, who I didn't think was going to speak to me and did. And I have as much respect for Setra Shakur as anyone I've met. And she was a tough interview, but she was important. Number two is Yasmin Fula, who is the mom of Yaki from the Outlaws and really served as Tupac's business manager and also a former Black Panther. And she was a guiding light for me. And the third was Layla Steinberg, who kind of helped discover Tupac when he was a kid in Marin City and sort of took her under his wing. And she was like a talent developer. And those three people have been invaluable. And I've been in communication with Set. Set told me she's probably not going to read the book. And it wasn't like because you're an asshole. It was because I've lived such a traumatic life, and reliving all the things my brother went through is not something I really want to endure again, which I obviously respect. The other two women have read the book, and they told me they both really loved it. So that meant something to me.
Yeah,
I get emotional talking about it. I'm not joking about this. This is unlike any book I've written in my life. Any book I've written in my life. Much harder, much more emotional, much sadder.
This show's known for making people cry, but not usually because they're happy or anything.
They're listening to us.
As my son would say, Dad, you're crying because you're a little bitch. Right, go ahead. Right.
I don't think that's what we're known for either, but sure.
Jeff, I guess I
quote Emmett Perlman.
Right. Jeff, you've kind of already answered kind of the question I had just around, like, I saw some of the I guess pushback around, all right, a white dude is talking about Tupac. And I think Tupac is one of those ones, because, like, let's be honest, Tupac fans might be zealots, man, next to like Kobe's. And I say that in like the most caring way. Like, they care so much about the story. But then to the journalism part, I mean, it's not like you're just going and like making stuff up. You're talking to people. And I guess, how have you been able to communicate? And do you worry about communicating that as a journalist? Do you say, hey, I'm just going to go and report, right, the news? But I think this is different than, I feel like Kobe might be the only other person I feel like that folks feel that way. But I think hip hop is one of those weird things where it's like, oh, we want to protect this. Only black folk kind of can like tell that story. And I don't necessarily think that's true, right? I think you can do the research on that. But like, do you worry about that at all? Or is it just kind of like, no, I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to write the book I want to write.
It's a great question, because the truth of the matter is there's some stuff in this book that if it were like people will say, like, you're just trying to sell books, you're just trying to make money off of Tupac. And the truth of the matter is, and I really do believe this, if I really, quote unquote, was just trying to make money off of Tupac, I would write a love letter to Tupac. Like, that's what I would do. I would write this. He was the greatest guy ever, and anything bad you've heard about him, you're misunderstanding. He's really this. Did I break up on you guys? Are you still there?
You said you really
Just for a second. You glitched, but we got you.
Okay. You can hear me. I'm saying, like, if I wrote a love letter to Tupac, it would be a much more sellable book, you know? I think we all have a choice. Journalists have a choice, especially in this day and age. You can stay true to who you are as a journalist and realize that it's going to be ugly to a certain degree, especially when you're writing about an iconic figure. I've had this with Walter Payton, and I had this with Kobe Bryant when I wrote The Ring Circus. Like, it is hard to write about an icon truthfully. It just is. But I always think at the end of the day, like, what are you trying to do here? Like, how do you write a book about MLK or JFK and not write about any of their infidelities? How do you do that? How do you write a book about Malcolm X and not write about him as a numbers runner, Detroit Red? Like, you can't. How do you write about Marilyn Monroe and not write about her depression? Like, on and on and on. We're either going to write books that tell you the history of a person and the highs and the lows and the lefts and the rights, or we're just going to give everyone hand jobs. Like, that's just the truth of the matter. Yeah. And for me personally, as a guy who loves journalism, I just don't want to do that. And I want to say one more thing that I think is really tough nowadays, especially with books. You guys all see this. We digest everything nowadays in 20-second segments. And that is often it. You get 20 seconds on a TikTok video or an Instagram feed.
Oh, he froze again.
Uh-oh.
There we go. We got you.
20 seconds. Yeah, we digested things in 20 seconds.
Yeah. He was talking too long.
I see, like this shut. Like,
exactly. Here we do. Yeah, right. Seconds. That's it. There it is.
Exactly. You basically get 20 seconds. Everything is reduced to 20 seconds, right? Everything is reduced to 20 seconds. So, like, again, like the thing I said about Tupac with the guns and fights, that was reduced. That was a long conversation. Right. That was reduced to 20 seconds. It's much harder to tell someone, read a book. Here's a 400-page book. You will learn a lot, but you have to read the 400-page book. We don't have the attention spans anymore. All of us it's been damaged, you know? So it's much harder. But I just, at the end of the day, I'm a Nashville, Tennessean, Sports Illustrated produced journalist more than anything else. And I try to keep that going. I really do. So I'm a dinosaur in a way. I just try to keep it going.
I wondered, though, as these things get shorter and shorter, these books will live forever? Will people pine for like sitting down and actually, like, will it become too much? Because I don't think humans are supposed to take in the information the way we do. I think we probably should be sitting down and reading books. Obviously, people are going to bash me for saying that there, but no, I think there's still a segment of society that respects the craft and wants to do that and sits down. So, I mean,
I think a lot of people buy books nowadays with the intention of reading them. And I think they make amazing furniture and, you know, coffee table placements. It's just, for all of us, myself included, it's just harder. Our brains have been rewired to digest information in a different way. And the thing, I agree with you 100%. And also, like, it's nice to sit down with a book and not do anything else and turn your phone off and kick back for an hour, half hour, 20 minutes. You just feel good about yourself. You just do, especially a printed book. And that's not me trying to sell a book. I'm just saying there's something nice about reading a book. Yeah, there just is.
Yeah. Well, I'm
shut up.
No, I just don't know how to read. I'm not a book person, but I am a journalism person, and I think that
which is crazy.
What? No,
you can't get both. Anyway,
hey, I'll read like a 16-page article in the New Yorker. Is that the same thing? Do I get credit for that?
Jeff, I used to bring books all the time into when we used to go in the studio, and I would prop up a book every show. I'd prop up a book, and he would just look at me like, why are you always reading?
I'm not saying reading is bad.
Oh, audiobooks count. Oh, that is.
Yeah.
Does it count as reading? Does it count as reading?
My wife and I have this debate all the time because she loves audiobooks. Can you say I read a book after you listen to a book? I say yes, but does it actually count as reading? Literally reading? Obviously, no, it's not the same thing. But you can say you read the book.
Because you've consumed the.
Someone wants to listen to my book.
Yeah.
We had a whole episode about this. We'll send you that so you can fight with your wife about it later.
Right.
When you come back, you tell us how that fight goes because we really are interested.
I will tell you one thing that was interesting about the Tupac book. So everyone says to me, do you narrate your books? Do you narrate your books? Right. And I like narrating the books. I've only done one. It was The Bad Guys 1. And I did it recently because it wasn't an audiobook when it came out. And I really enjoyed it. They were like, are you going to narrate the Tupac book? I was like, there is no way in hell I'm narrating this Tupac book when the N-word appears about 750.
Why not? Come on.
Good choice.
All this talk about fearless journalism and just being accepted for the subject matter.
He can't do it. He just can't.
No, we
I'm like, no, understand. I cannot do this. I had the option. I was like, no fucking way.
No. That's a trick. Don't fall for that, buddy.
Well, you talked about, if you were just adding this for the money grab, it would have been a love letter to Tupac. So I'm 2 chapters in now, and the depth of what I'm reading is really incredible. I mean, I feel like I've been going from apartment to apartment to apartment in the late 70s, early 80s, New York City through these first 2 chapters, and really just feeling immersed in what that life and that scene was back then. So, I can't wait till I get to the end of the book. I wish I had a chance to read all of it and had a chance to talk to you. But like throughout the course of this reporting, what has been maybe the most surprising thing that you learned, or like maybe what has changed the most about your perception about Tupac? I mean, you could probably write a whole book about Tupac's mother alone, just from what I'm reading and the incredible life that she had. That's something that I knew nothing about. So I can't imagine, what has changed for you along the way.
So first of all, I think Afeni Shakur should be taught in history classes across America. And one of the things that just especially work on this book, I've been saying nonstop, every white person in America should have the privilege of working on a Tupac book. And I really mean that. Like, and Afeni Shakur in particular, I mean, Black Panther, pregnant with Tupac when 21 years old, being shuttled from jail to a courthouse every day for a famous court case called the Panther 21 trial, where 21 members of the Black Panthers were accused of plotting to blow up Post's place in New York and New Jersey, turns down the court-appointed attorney, even though she doesn't even have a high school diploma, represents herself, again, pregnant with Tupac, wins. It's remarkable. Her being is remarkable, and also her later becoming a crack addict is remarkable. And then her going and getting clean is remarkable. And the way she used her son, not in good ways, is remarkable. And the way she raised him is remarkable. It's an amazing, amazing story.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like many people, I honestly, if you had said to me not that long ago, who was Tupac, I'd talk about Thug Life and I talk about I Get Around. And I might say he was sensitive. The Brenda's Got a Baby. He was a sensitive artist at first. I didn't know about the trauma that guy went through. I didn't know his life. His life is a sad freaking life. It was a sad freaking life from soup to nuts, sad, tragedy. He's in Clinton Correctional Facility and his family's asking him for money. Everywhere he's being asked for money. He watches his mom. Imagine watching your mom. Imagine watching, picture whoever the biggest hero in your guys' lives are, okay? You have this person, you hold them up here, and maybe they're disappointing sometimes, right? His mom, who is his hero, a single mom who raised him, Black Panther, becomes a crack addict and kicks him out of the house because he wants her to get off crack, right? And he's homeless because his hero is a crack addict in Marin City. Like, the trauma that guy faced is insane. And people who I feel like people do this a lot, in particular with Black athletes and Black musicians, where they'll be like, well, this piss, why would you blow this? You had all this, blah, blah, blah. How could you blow your money? How could you blame? Like, the fucking trauma this guy had to overcome, and you never fully overcome it. That's a thing. It haunts you, it plagues you, it informs you. If you listen to a lot of his music, it is informed by the very trauma that he experienced. And I just think he didn't think he was going to live to 20. He made it to 25. And while his death was an inanity that is freaking ridiculous and pathetic and sad, it's kind of a miracle he made it to 25 and was able to create the art that he created.
Yeah. I think we have asked artists this question several times, and I think maybe this is a good way to ask you this, but it does seem like trauma and pain often, I'm not going to say are prerequisites, but they certainly do help in producing really incredible art. And especially if you think about, as you were mentioning, that, you know, his mom was so smart that with everything stacked against her, still was able to do all of these amazing things. You know, you do have to wonder, like, if these people who achieve these great things in spite of all of the stuff thrown at them, if they didn't have that stuff thrown at them, how much more could they have achieved? Or would they not have achieved as deep and sensitive and powerful stuff if they hadn't had all that thrown at them? What do you think?
Oh, no. I heard, you know, it's funny. I heard the great musician Gene Simmons of Kiss talk about, someone asked him why he doesn't create, why the Kiss music wasn't as good as it used to be. And he's like, because we weren't hungry anymore. Like, you're hungry when you're young, and you want it when you're young, and you have this thing when you're young. And like, there's a reason most rappers, in fact, I would even include Jay-Z, Eminem, Nas, guys who are still considered great artists, aren't as great as they were. And it's because they all have nice houses, and they all drive nice cars, and they know where their meal's coming at night. And when you don't know where your food's coming from at night, and when you're living with the rats, I mean, Tupac was making, he was doing like Juice, when he played Bishop in Juice, like that wasn't pretend. Like that was, him playing Bishop was informed by being in Marin City with a crack addicted mother, not quite sure where he was going to live. Like that was informed by that. So he had that in him. So I don't think if Tupac had been born and raised in Scarsdale, New York, to a mom and a dad and a dog and a BMW in the driveway, you couldn't be Tupac. He had to go through what he went through. The sad part is, to go through it, you live through the hell that you go through. Like that's the unfortunate part of it, but it makes you who you are. So everything he spit, people always say like, and in a way, when I did that stupid interview, in a way I implied this, which I'm mortified by. Like he was not a gangster, but he was a warrior. Like that's the best way. Layla Steinberg said that to me recently. She's like, he wasn't a gangster, but he was a warrior. He was just, he fought and he fought and he fought. And I just think ultimately his pain made him remarkable.
Yeah.
Is that a parallel between music and sports, like that hunger and that drive and all that?
Of course. There's a reason. I was on, weirdly, this is going to be a name drop, and I don't know him except for today. I was on Marshawn Lynch's podcast today.
Oh yeah, he's on our show all the time.
Wow, it's funny. He mentioned you guys.
Yeah. Tell him I say what's up.
Tell him we said hi.
No, actually, it's awkward. I told him I was doing your show, and he was like, "Ugh, don't." And I was like, "Yo, man, what?"
I have a great Marshawn Lynch story. I can't tell on air, but I will tell folks off air.
Okay.
He was a delight. First of all,
he's
he
great.
was a delight.
He's a great person.
Oh, so good.
Really good.
And
the greatest person I've ever met.
But he was talking about, like, he's a kid from Oakland. He's poor. He needs to eat. You get in the NFL, you're running straight at everybody because you fucking need to eat, right? You need to eat, and you've never had anything, and nothing's ever been given to you. You win a couple of Super Bowls. You have a nice car. You have a nice house. You have the right investor who invests your money. You're not going to be as hungry. It's just a reality. You're not going to be as hungry. It happens to athletes, happens to artists, happens to writers. Being serious about that happens to writers. Like, I'm still really hungry. I don't know why, but I'm still really hungry to write great stuff. But a lot of the guys I came up with, most are gone. Most stopped writing. Most just decided to do something else, which is cool. But like, you know, you do stuff for a while and you just lose a little bit of your edge. There's no doubt about it.
Jeff, can I sneak one question in here? One question I've always had about Pac, right, is do you think he understood his power to drive the people? Because I do look at kind of when he goes and moves into death row, right? And like, did he understand like the gravitational pull he had of the people to guide them wherever he wanted? Like, I feel like he could guide not just like hip hop fans, but I think no matter what he did, his voice was that powerful. Do you think he understood that, or was it kind of like, I'm in the moment, I'm making music, right? We're living life very fast at the moment. Like, I've always wondered that about him. Did you find that in the writing?
That's a great question. Like a great question. I've not been asked that before. You win the pony, man. That was really good. For real, that's a great question. Okay. I think he did understand the power of his voice. I think he saw himself as a leader. I'll tell you a quick story. Tupac was in a group called Thug Life. And basically it was him and a bunch of his guys he was helping along. It's actually a great album, Thug Life, that nobody bought. And they were on a brief tour with a hip hop group called Lords of the Underground. And Lords of the Underground's lead hip hop artist was a guy named Do It All Dupree Kelly. And I interviewed Dupree Kelly for the book. And he told me one time they were all in Orlando for a show on this little tour. And he and Tupac got in an argument. And Dupree Kelly goes back to his hotel room and he gets a knock on the door a few minutes later. And he looks through the people and it's Tupac. And he calls these other guys in Lords of the Underground. He's like, yo, Pac's at the door. What does he want? I don't know. But I'm just letting you know he's here just in case. He opens the door. Tupac's like, you ain't going to let me in? He's like, all right. And he has 2 40s with him. And he hands a 40 and he says, sit down. And Tupac says to him, and Dupree Kelly's like 23 years old, just out of Shaw University. He's like, listen, I don't like how you talk to me. That's not cool. He's like, but I love that you stood up for your boys. And he's like, we as a people need to stand up for each other. It's fucking more important than anything. And he goes on this long diatribe. And at one point he goes, we need to represent our communities. You need to stay in New Jersey and represent New Jersey. I need to represent Oakland. Cube needs to represent LA. And the other thing we need to do, we need to start making laws. And Dupree Kelly's like, what do you mean? And he's like, we need to be legislators. We need to run for office. We need to be making the laws. All right. And here's the craziest part. You know what Dupree Kelly does for a living now?
Oh, don't tell me he's the
city council.
City council. Oh God.
City council in New York, New Jersey. And when I interviewed him, he said that talk from Tupac was the stirring moment. Okay. Did Tupac know the power of his voice? 100% yes. However, it's a little bit of an educated reporting guess. When he was at Clinton Correctional Facility, he just really wanted to get out of Clinton Correctional Facility. And here comes Suge Knight, who's a manipulative man and a guy who was like giving money to Tupac's mom and like playing the game, sending Tupac a $15,000 check, all this shit. So he bails him out. Well, all of a sudden, who does Tupac have to be loyal to? Death Row. And what is Death Row giving him? Cars, money, apartment. And there was a moment in the book, he was in a movie Gang Related with Jim Belushi. And he's filming Gang Related, and they filmed it in LA. And one day Suge Knight shows up on the set mid-filming with a new car for Tupac as a gift. He's like, yo, Pac, I got you this car, blah, blah, blah. Congrats, big ups. Tupac hugs him, whole thing. Suge Knight leaves. Tupac turns to a woman working on the film and goes, I don't own this car. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's leased. Everything I have is leased. I don't own anything. I don't own my apartment. I don't own my house. I own nothing. And when Tupac died, he had less than $200,000. Like, he didn't have shit. And he was a powerful man with a powerful voice who I think was overtaken a little bit by Death Row, felt indebted to Suge Knight, felt a little trapped by Suge Knight, and bought in a little too much. And there's a guy, Mob James, who grew up with Suge in Compton and was a part of the Death Row family. And when I interviewed him, he got very emotional. And he was like, Suge Knight sold this guy on the gangster lifestyle. He's like, and Tupac was not a gangster. And he sold him on it and sold him on it. And Tupac bought it. And that's why he's dead today.
You know, you've probably already answered this. Like, one of the things I was going to ask you, I know you're a Blind Melon fan. Okay. I did a deep dive on Shannon Hoon. I worked on that documentary.
Yeah. Loved it.
Did you? You saw it? That's cool.
Oh, come on. Of course. And I interviewed, what's his name? The photographer.
Danny Clinch. Yeah. I flipped around in the book and read that part as well. Yeah. You know, one of the things Glenn Graham always would say about Shannon was that if he was alive today, he'd be dead. You know, because his flame just shone too bright, and you know, he just was a spirit that wasn't meant to live. And it's kind of, you know, what you said. It's amazing that Tupac lived to 25. Obviously, different set of circumstances there, but you know, all of the violence and sort of impulsiveness in Tupac's life, it seemed like he wasn't really destined to be with us for too long.
It's interesting. I just want to say to that, I do agree technically. Right. I do agree. And I've thought about this a lot because that's a very common thought. Like, oh, he wouldn't be alive. He would. But it's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? Like, would I have guessed Snoop Dogg when he was on trial for murder? Been alive?
The Snoop Dogg story is insane.
Insane.
Yeah.
Snoop
Dogg's right, children's books these days. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there are a lot of guys from back in the day who actually are alive. Would Ice-T have been alive? I mean, Ice-T, you know, body count. I don't know. Like, it is. Yes.
He's selling car warranties. He's not just alive. He's living.
No, and he's like, this great. Would you have said to me, Ice-T would have this great acting career? You know, this prolonged acting career? No. So you don't know for sure. I do agree with you. I do think I thought of Shannon Hoon a couple of times, and obviously Kurt Cobain a couple of times. That this idea that like you just live so fast, so young, so impulsively. How long can that go for? And that's true, and it's generally true. But I do think people like it is possible Shannon Hoon. Rehab finally would have kicked in. He would have been clean. He would have been a songwriter. And today he'd be writing songs for artists or writing his own songs or touring as an oldies out. Who the hell knows? So I don't know. I don't know for sure, but it's an interesting thought. Anyway,
did you notice that your book came out on the 30th anniversary of Shannon's death? I don't know. It was a coincidence, but
did not actually.
Yeah.
No, I planned it that way. You know, I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do this. The Tupac book on Shannon Hoon's death anniversary.
The Blind Melon
perfect.
Tupac fan overlap is huge. It's like that Venn diagram's just one circle.
I do love Shannon Hoon. If I could write a Shannon Hoon book and be profitable, I just don't think it would sell. Just being honest, as much as I love Blind Melon.
Sure.
But I think, I love Shannon
You
Hoon.
do it on our label. You know, the ChipChat publishing house would be glad to support you on
I'm
that.
in.
We've got like about $6 or $7.
I had to
in.
get some Blind Melon in there.
I still think Change is one of the great songs of all time.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. Now I don't know how much time we have left with you. I can't let you go. I know you've told the story already in another interview or two, but the Brenda's Got a Baby story, it's in the intro of the book.
Yes, please.
It's incredible. If you don't mind even just giving us a condensed version, it's just really incredible what you were able to do.
When you say, have I told it a time or two? I would say it's a little bit more than a time or two at this point. But you know what? It is a great story. It's factually a great story. Okay. The song Brenda's Got a Baby. Tupac is filming Juice. It's 1991. He's in New York City. It's his first movie. When he was growing up, Afeni Shakur, his mom, was very adamant about his kids reading the newspaper and him reading the newspapers to his kid. One day he's standing outside his trailer. He gets a New York Daily News. There's an article, Cries in the Night. It's about a 12-year-old girl in public housing in Brooklyn, raped by her cousin, gives birth on the bathroom floor, wraps a baby up in a plastic bag, throws a baby down the trash heap. Tupac reads this. He's like, I need a few minutes. Goes into his trailer, starts writing. Brenda's got a baby, but Brenda's barely got a brain. A damn shame. The girl can hardly spell her name. This hard-hitting song. Kid was 19 years old writing this stuff, writes a song, and that's it. Comes out. When I was interviewing Layla Steinberg for this book, she's like, we've always wondered whether it even was a baby or whatever. And I was like, well, we can find this out. I have a friend from my high school in Meadowpark, New York, who's an amazing genealogist named Michelle Sully. I reached out to her, the baby. She gets me a phone number one day. She's like, I think this is him. And I text awkwardly. My name is Jeff Perlman. I'm a writer. I'm doing a Tupac book. By any chance, is this you? And I attach like the article. I mean, it's just clumsy and awkward. By any chance, were you the one whose mom threw her down the trash heap when she was 12 years old after she was raped by a cousin who's probably your uncle? Just wondering, like that. It's
That's
like ridiculous.
a normal thing to ask
somebody.
somebody.
That's a normal thing. Problem is, no one answers their phones anymore. So what are you going to do? Like, no one answers their phones anymore if it's a strange number. Anyway, he writes back. He lives in Las Vegas. He affirms it's him. I drive out to Las Vegas. We meet at a Starbucks. His name is Davon Hodge. He's the best. He's become I don't make that many friends off of books. He's definitely become a friend and someone I really.
I still hear you.
Worst time to freeze.
Yeah. All right. So Davon becomes a friend. I go out to Las Vegas. I sit down with him, and basically he tells me he was adopted by a parent after he was thrown down the trash heap. He's adopted by a mom and dad. They moved to Las Vegas. They're in Las Vegas. His adoptive parents died somewhat recently. He does an Ancestry.com search, spits into a thing. It comes back. Brooklyn, Brooklyn, Brooklyn. All these relatives. Brooklyn, Brooklyn. He reaches out. He winds up. They all live in the Noble Drew Ali public housing unit where he was born and thrown down the trash heap. He goes back to Brooklyn. He meets all these relatives. It's like Antoine Fisher. It's like the hugs and the kissing and the food and grandma and uncle. It's amazing. How do you feel about Tupac, Davon? I love Tupac. How do you feel about the song Brenda's Got a Baby? I love that song. We think it might be about you. What? They have this inclination for whatever reason because of the timing and everything. This song's about you. All right. He hasn't seen his mom. She threw him down the trash heap. I say to Michelle Sully, the greatest wizard of genealogists ever, is there any way we can find the mom? She's like, I don't know. I'll try. She has his number. She reaches out one day. She basically says, my name is Michelle Sully. I'm working with an author named Jeff Perlman about a Tupac book. This is kind of random, but did you have a baby when you were 12 years old? She starts screaming and crying immediately into the phone. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What do you know? We know where your son is. We do. Oh my God. Oh my God. I've been looking for him for decades. I got to get home to Newark, New Jersey. I got to get home to Newark. Well, where are you now? I'm at a concert. What concert? Red Hot Chili Peppers. Where are they playing? Las Vegas. Your son lives in Vegas. And they meet that night and reunite. And it's the best. It's not my find. Honestly, God, it is a genealogist, but I at least had the inclination to go to high school with a really good genealogist. And together we wove this, and now it's the opening of my book.
Yeah, no, and
it's a great find.
Such a powerful opening to the book. And like I said, I heard you tell that story before. And just to think that if Tupac hadn't written that song all those years ago, and if you hadn't done what you did, then that would have never, that reunion would have never happened. So that is just really incredible.
It's
slightly more important to me than recreating the drunk flight back from Houston after the 86 Mets from the NLCS. Only
I just saw that actually, on your YouTube channel, Sports Chronicles with Jeff Perlman. Is that right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's you can check out Jeff's YouTube channel there as
Press
well.
Box Chronicles.
Press Box Chronicles. That's right. That's right. Out of the 652 people that you interviewed, did you try to talk to Madonna?
I did. I did not get very far. I also didn't get Jada Pinkett, who we went to high school with. I tried that too.
Did you learn any insight into that relationship at all? Was it thought it as superficial, or do you think there was a real relationship there between
Madonna or Jada?
Madonna.
With Madonna?
Yeah.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Yes, with Madonna.
Yeah. So it's funny. He wrote her a very passionate letter from prison, basically breaking up with her and explaining how it wouldn't strike his fans correctly as a black man to be dating Madonna and all these things. And he wrote like this. I mean, his letters are always very intense. And he writes his letter, and Madonna's like, okay, and just moved on. But they were like in a kind of relationship for a while. But Tupac's relationships, with rare exception, were, and this isn't a dogging on Tupac at all, but like he was young, like they were sexual. I met with Lisa from Lisa Cult Jam, and she was awesome. And I was like, so did you date Tupac? And she's like, I wouldn't call it dating. That's what she said. I wouldn't call it dating. And there was a lot of that with Tupac, So,
well, Jeff, as we wind down here, I got one or two more questions for you. So kind of fast forwarding toward the end of Tupac's life, what can you tell us about that night in Vegas? And also, maybe I know you interviewed the police officer who was maybe the first on the scene after he was shot. There was an interesting interaction there as well.
Did the FBI do it?
No.
Okay.
I only have like 2 minutes left, but I'll go this quick just because I got to go. Don't hate me.
No.
Okay. A couple of interesting things about at the end of his life. Number one, the only reason you can make an argument. So it was a Mike Tyson, Bruce Seldon fight at the MGM Grand. It was supposed to be 3 months earlier. Had it been 3 months earlier, Tupac would not have been able to go because he was in the middle of filming a movie. It was only postponed because Don King didn't think Mike Tyson was ready. So he made up some excuse. It all comes back to Don King, basically. Number two, I just don't, and I know there are different people who disagree with me, and that's cool. But for my reporting, like he's in the MGM casino after the fight. He's named Trayvon Lane, who's blood affiliated, Mob Piru. A few weeks earlier, he had an altercation with a member of the Crips named Orlando Anderson, who he had ripped off his medallion at a Foot Locker at a nearby mall. They're in the MGM Grand. There's Orlando Anderson. Who took my chain? That's the guy right there. He Tupac goes, which one? He goes, right there. Tupac walks up, says, you from the Southside Compton Crips, punches him in the face. They all stomp on Orlando Anderson. Later that night, Orlando Anderson is driving around looking for Tupac with Keefe D, his uncle. And I interviewed one of Orlando Anderson's closest friends, and what he said to me, to paraphrase, is, how's he going to go back to Compton having been publicly beat up by a rapper? Not a gangbanger, but a rapper. Like, how do you survive that? How do you recover from that image-wise? And I think it's an interesting point the guy made. So then later, obviously Tupac is shot at the intersection of Flamingo and Koval. Suge is at the wheel. They drive off. They end up stopping. And Las Vegas police, generally the members of the Las Vegas Police Department hated Tyson fights because they drew just a crazy amount of gangbangers from LA. Hated it. Limited staff. One guy is a police officer on a bike. So he literally bikes up to the scene and he sees this and he can tell what it is. And somehow Tupac's door opens and Tupac kind of slumps out and he's clearly been shot. And the cop walks up to him and he starts asking him questions. And according to him, Tupac's last words to him were, fuck you. And those would have been the last words of Tupac's life, or fuck you, which I have to say in that almost famous kind of way is much better than I am a golden god. Tupac's last words, fuck you, much better than like, I wish I had some breakfast cereal. It was very Tupac-y. Fuck you to a cop.
Yeah. Wow.
Incredible story.
The book is Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. Jeff, we can't thank you enough for your time. It's been a real thrill to talk to you.
Bucks hat? That's a Bucks hat, right?
Yeah, he's wearing the creamsicle.
Bucks hat. Baker Mayfield's the MVP, right?
I think so.
He's probably gonna be.
If Evans didn't break his collarbone, I think it would look a lot more that way.
I don't think it's gonna matter. I don't think it's gonna matter.
Baker, playmaker, man. That guy's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Jeff. We'll definitely give you a call, have you back. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you. You're a legend, sir.
Go get his book and learn everything there is to know about Tupac. You don't have to interview 652 people. You can just listen to or read Jeff's book, and then you'll know. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with the second half of the show. We really appreciate it. All right. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You are listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps. Breaks are late too.
Yeah, we're doing the test break. Brian didn't have the AI stuff queued up yet. Tez, do you feel like slapping any particular people today? Welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez, maybe, and Fish. There's Fish. All right.
I decided to stick around.
You decided to stick around. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, even though, I just love that.
So listen, right back where he left off.
I'm here
for
the
feel at home.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad that it was. And Jeff was not amused in the beginning. I feel like we kind of won him over.
I hope so.
I think we did.
I don't know how many times you guys have New York Times bestsellers on the show, but it's always good to keep them waiting for a while.
Several times. But they're not always waiting.
Special? Yeah. Everybody waits around here.
Come on, this is a very serious comedy show. What are you talking about?
I blame I blame candidates' forms. I blame the voting process. This is ridiculous.
Were you voting?
Yeah, no, because I had a city candidates form. So there's So
he was participating in democracy.
Yeah,
after the clip I posted out, how you kind of berating me how I want a direct democracy instead of a legit republic as we're supposedly living in.
Listen, your last week's effort or 2 weeks ago's effort at like appealing to the VAR on Trump's election, there's just nothing funnier to me. But anyway,
well, it's good to be back. I was immediately squirming out of my chair for the first 5 minutes. So
meanwhile, I'm like, this is great.
So Fish, listen, if anybody's listening, right, here's the thing that you might have just listened to the first part of the show and think, oh, well, Fish is just this brilliant journalist who likes to ask all these questions about, to important writers and stuff. He actually used to be a co-host of this show for years, tolerated me for a long time.
Never came this prepared one time when I was actually on the show.
Yo, I just want to go behind the scenes. Like Fish's notes inside the document. I was reading them today. I was like, oh, this shit is like serious. And like, mine has ask him about being white. Mine is just like it's like a word. It's just like, oh, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how it's moving once we get there.
No, but you got props for giving him the best question, or
Yeah.
Look, man, I don't know. Just had to,
that's just talent. That's just talent.
Look, I don't know.
You don't prep for that.
It's a weird.
Tez is gonna be the new Terry Gross when she finally retires.
Clearly not. I always tell people on the show because your name is on it. Like I invoke Levitard, but it's weird that like me being the Cuban is Stugatz, when he's Jewish, and you're really more Levitard. But I'm the Cuban.
Well, hold on to that Cuban stuff and specifically the Italian stuff, because that's going to come up in a little while.
It's foreshadowing.
All right, so Fish, we have this is like a slightly varied version on our old segment with the rundown. This is just headlines, though. So do you want to try your hand at your old gig and do some headlines with us?
I mean, I'm here. Here.
So we're just going to go in order, and we'll just go down the list. And so I think since the screens are all different for everybody, we'll go Fish, Tez, Chip, and in that order. I have not counted ahead. I don't know.
Fuck.
Wait, you want me to read all of this?
So we'll just see.
Talk to you don't like reading now? Just talk to an author, and now you're talking about reading. You're anti-reading.
All right. So where am I starting after this? Where
it says after picking a fight.
All right. Here we go, people. All right. So after picking a fight with a major coffee producer in Brazil, Trump threatened Colombia next, driving shares of Red Bull through the roof.
That's right.
Speaking of coffee, Maxwell is changing their name of their flagship brand from house to apartment because they are completely out of ideas. Wait, are these like one at a time?
Yeah. You're supposed to say yours and then hand it off to
read everyone.
Like, you do not want me to read this whole thing.
No, it's supposed to be like weekend update.
So let's go back to the next one. Let's go back to the first one. So,
then I say
yeah, so after picking a fight with a major coffee producer in Brazil, Trump has now threatened Colombia, which is driving shares of Red Bull through the roof.
There you go.
All right. Speaking of coffee, Maxwell is changing the name of their flagship brand from house to apartment because they're completely out of ideas.
Trump's continued attacks on vessels in the Caribbean has gone about as well as his handling of the Epstein files. So well, in fact, that he's recently expanded to attacking boats in the Pacific.
Noted opponent of random wars and neighbor everyone loves to tackle, Rand Paul voiced opposition to Trump's extrajudicial drone strikes. So if you live in Kentucky, watch out for drone strikes.
Kaboom. There you go. Now you got it.
There it is. Millions of people came out last weekend to protest Trump and his policies. Republicans accused the protesters of being anti-Semitic and also funded by the dirty globalist Jew George Soros.
That's right. Soros denied the allegations and bought a yacht to prove that he hadn't blown all his cash on inflatable frog costumes.
Glad you read that one.
DHS shock troops continued their fight for the streets of Portland. So far, they have apprehended 5 unicorns, 3 T-Rexes, and 15 frogs. The streets are far safer tonight.
That's right.
Of course, it's a lot safer. A panel for the Ninth Circuit ruled that Trump could invade Portland with National Guard troops, sending sales of bulletproof frog costumes soaring.
That's right. Speaking of invading cities, Trump said he is calling off his invasion of San Francisco because his friends told him that the mayor was doing a good job. This, of course, was hard to believe as Trump has no friends.
Trump also floated the idea of giving tomahawks to Ukraine, but after a phone call with Putin, decided instead to have them cooked well done and served with ketchup.
That's a steak joke.
That's a really good. I laughed at that when I read it. It made me laugh. Trump's staff misunderstood his euphemism and actually started tearing down the side of the White House with construction equipment this week. Worse still, the gear that they're using is made in Sweden.
Yeah, it's all Volvo. After destroying half of the White House, Trump's next renovation project will be his neck vagina getting a nip and tuck.
I'm going to preface this by saying I did not write any of these jokes.
Oh, don't! Of course you did. You wrote it all.
Japan has a new prime minister, and this time it's a woman. So get ready for prices in the panty vending machines to plummet.
Yes.
Christ. Yo, I see why you put a disclaimer. Jim Comey asked the judge to dismiss his case, calling it vindictive and facially flawed. Or did I say that right? Facially flawed? Excuse me.
Facially flawed.
Oh, Christ. Butchered that one. But given photos of people at Mar-a-Lago, facially flawed is right in Trump's wheelhouse.
Yep. Over the weekend, Waffle House hostess and part-time lawyer prosecuting Comey's case, Lindsay Halligan, used Signal to text a reporter a bunch of grand jury information and then tried to claim that it was off the record days later. She has been promoted to Assistant Secretary of War.
Fairly up.
Trump says he has inked a deal with Australians for access to their supply of rare earth metals. But what he actually got was a lifetime supply of square wombat poop.
That's true. They poop cubes.
Okay.
That's a real thing. You can look it up.
Kind of barf a little bit. The shutdown is caused all... The shutdown has caused all kinds of problems, including that TSA and air traffic controllers aren't getting paid. Food donations have popped up at airports, so now you can finally give away the second half of your $40 bag of M&Ms.
That's right.
$45.
Okay, sorry. Kids all over the country are yelling 6-7 and causing grown-up millennials a massive headache as we try to figure out whether that phrase is on fleek or totes whatevs.
Is it 6-7? Isn't that a 6-7?
Come on, you guys know you missed my horrible Trump impression.
We do miss the impression.
Sorely missed, I'm sure.
Because we have to rely on Tez's, which is even worse.
It's so bad. Wait till you hear my Italian.
Can't wait. Over the weekend, the Marines used live rounds to shoot over a highway in California while J.D. Vance was there celebrating something. As expected, there was a misfire and shrapnel sprayed over the I-5. No people were harmed, but several couches were heavily damaged. Not by the shrapnel, of course, but by Vance.
Yeah.
Right. Vance was in Israel this week to help shore up the shaky ceasefire deal. And while he was there, the parliament voted to annex the West Bank, showing that even in Israel, J.D. Vance gets about as much respect as he shows his sofa.
That's right. A car crashed into the security gates at the White House late Tuesday night. There was no threat to the president, and Pete Hegseth was driven to another bar by his wife.
The much-anticipated summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin was called off this week after a phone call between Lil Marco and Sergei Lavrov. In a statement, the State Department said they didn't want to be Russian into anything prematurely.
Oh, God.
All right.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. In Virginia, the race for lieutenant governor is heating up as Republican John Reed held a fake debate with an AI version of his opponent. How do you pronounce this person's name?
Ghazala Hashmi.
Ghazala Hashmi, who outside observers said won the debate. You may remember John Reed as the GOP candidate who is openly gay and has refused to delete his OnlyFans account, to which Brian is a subscriber. Wow, Brian.
It also broke this week, which this didn't make the press time, that his Tumblr account keeps reposting Nazi porn.
His Tumblr?
He has a Tumblr, and he keeps using it, and he's reposting Nazi porn.
The Tumblr servers are still up. Interesting.
Apparently.
Did not know.
Yeah. All right. In sports, the World Series is set between the defending champion Dodgers and the Canadian team that went 7-6 against the Orioles. If the Jays win, they will have to pay a 25% tariff to bring home their trophy. If the Dodgers win, Trump has promised to bomb San Francisco.
That's not funny.
And while baseball is heading toward the end of their season, EPL is hitting their stride as Liverpool drops their third in a row to Czech's notes, Man U. Early reports are of fans attacking their manager, engaging in what some have called slut shaming.
Oh, yes, God, that's good. That's really good. I'll give you that. That's a good one there. Fall is finally fully upon us, making American women insufferable with their lattes and causing all dads to begin competitively bragging about their leaf blowers. They better be electric, damn it.
Dads in cities with bans on gaff leaf blowers can take solace in knowing that it's okay to be gay now.
I didn't know that was coming. I didn't even read ahead of that.
And speaking of fall colors, Metro retired the last of the old 2000 series trains, marking the end of an era of orange and brown seats and working trains.
Yes.
But don't be so sure of orange and brown seats because it's still Metro.
Are they coming back?
Oh, no. Well, people sometimes. Never mind.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Moving on.
All right. Those are the headlines. What do you think of the headlines, guys?
They were great. I think, sufficiently, insufferable.
All right, you want to go right into the rundown? Or
I'm still laughing from the way this show started off. It's fucking Jeff Pearlman. We had him fucking waiting. It's fucking crazy. Sorry. All right, I will collect myself. Yes, please. Let's go into the rundown.
Okay, we're gonna just go straight to the rundown.
That's a good idea.
You'll get yourself together. All right. Now we've come to the part of the show called the rundown. This is where we tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news. If we were real professionals, it would sound a little something like this.
Man, sit your ass down.
Of course.
From Beltway Radio and beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jay. All right. This first one is about, there's another Virginia. Like I live in the real Virginia, and then there's a new one that, they broke off, right? A while ago. But it's called West Virginia. They get to have senators, which I was shocked to find out about. And one of them is called Jim Justice, which is a funny name. He used to be their governor. He has a lot of money, sort of. And he famously also coached high school basketball until he became a senator. Even while he was governor, he was still like coaching, I think it was like freshman girls high school basketball, because there's like 6 people in West Virginia. Like even the governor has to do something. So one of the funny or maybe interesting things about Jim Justice is that he commutes from West by God to Washington on a regular basis, on a daily basis, or whenever he needs to be here, right? But unlike, say, Joe Biden, who used to commute as a senator from Delaware on the Amtrak, Jim Justice does it on a Learjet. And he flies from West Virginia.
Pardon? What?
He flies from West Virginia to National on his private jet. It's something like 30-minute flight. It's just enough time to get up in the air and get back down. Wouldn't you know it? The IRS has recently decided to take a look at his finances. The IRS recently filed notice of a federal tax lien against Jim Justice of West Virginia, the latest example of the ongoing financial troubles that have trailed the former governor, members of his family, and their network of businesses over the years, which of course is mining. One of the documents from the IRS obtained by Politico, who contributed this story, lists Justice and his wife, Kathy, as having a total balance of how much? $8 million in unpaid assessments, which in West Virginia money is like $1 trillion. That's a lot. $8 million goes really far in West Virginia.
It could save the state.
Yeah, it's the whole budget. So now it's a poor state, right? And how does this guy have this much money that he owes $8 million? And he apparently forgot to pay taxes in 2009, 2017, 2022. He wasn't senator yet, but he was a governor. And he basically has been telling everybody, this will all just work itself out. It'll be fine. He has no answer. He's no excuse or anything like that. But, flying around on the Learjet's probably what tipped him off. Like, how can he afford to do this on a senator salary?
I feel like another senator probably dropped a fucking dime on, like, imagine you're like, oh, if you're traveling up and down the East Coast from somewhere, or maybe you're flying like out of national on, some of them get on freaking regular like commercial
they
planes.
do. Most of them.
Most of them do. And you're like, wait, hold on. Who was getting in a Learjet? What?
It's also important to note that while the government has been shut down and the Senate can't pass a budget and nobody can do anything, Jim Justice did throw a birthday party in his office for his dog that was apparently very well attended, and everybody likes the dog. She's a little bulldog. Her name is Little Girl, and everybody likes her, but so, sensitive to the needs of the people. Okay, now, Tez, we need your help on this story. One of the things that we know is that every time people like, say, me, who is Jewish, says, hey, Republicans keep saying things that are Nazi things, because they do, or anytime somebody who is black, like, say, Tez, says, hey, these guys keep saying racist stuff, because they do, they all complain and go, we're not racists. We're not Nazis. Stop calling us that. You just don't agree with us. And we're like, no. We don't agree with you. And also, you keep saying the Nazi things. Case in point being, recently there was reporting about the young Republicans who were
the big text thread.
Big thread where they were using every racial slur in the book.
They were taking everybody out too.
Yeah. JD Vance waved it off as saying, oh, well, these are just young, they're just kids. Turns out they're all 35.
Right.
Yeah.
They have kids of their own.
The future leaders.
Yeah.
Future leaders. Some of them already working for senators and stuff. Enter one Mr. Paul Ingracia.
Paulie, my man Paulie.
Yeah, Paulie. What's his mob nickname, Tez?
What's his mob? I never thought about that. Hold on, I gotta give you a thing. What is Paulie's mob nickname?
Paulie Grassi.
Paulie Grassi. Paulie shit talker. I don't know. What do we got? Paulie the racist.
Well, he is that. He's also apparently a rapist because he's fighting those charges.
I didn't know.
He initially sort of like pops up on the radar because he's helping in the Doge stuff and he's helping in the administration to like end government. And then he gets nominated for the position of the head of the office of the special counsel, which is not what it sounds like. It's basically in charge of government whistleblowers and protecting them in case any of them come forward. And he had a confirmation hearing that was scheduled for today, but didn't happen. Why didn't it happen?
Well, because Paulie Ingracia was out here saying some really, I think when Thune doesn't think you can get nominated at that point, then you probably have tanked the nomination. But yeah, in that group chat, he said some pretty crazy things. All right, what are some of these things that Paulie had to say, right? So they battled quote. Yeah, I gotta quote some of these. Let me be really careful right now before I thank you for throwing that out there, right? Right. So the battle nominee, obviously was going to lead the Office of Special Counsel, told a group of fellow young Republicans in the tech chain that Martin Luther King holiday should be, quote, tossed into the seventh circle of hell, end quote, and said he has, quote, a Nazi streak, end quote, according to the text chat viewed by Politico. Again, as Chip mentioned, he was supposed to have a hearing. That hearing is no longer happening. According to the chat,
which one participant responded, quote, Jesus Christ.
It's a great.
The notable thing about this is how many people in the group chat were like, "Whoa, dude!"
I want to talk. That's an interesting point at the end of this that I want to get to. Right.
All right. Well, read some of the quotes.
So using an Italian slur for black people that Ingracia wrote a month earlier in the group chat, seen by Politico, quote, "No Muliano holidays from Kwanzaa, MLK Day to Black History Month to Juneteenth," end quote, then added, quote, "every single one of them needs to be eviscerated," end quote.
When I typed this up, Google Docs was like, we don't know the word Mulan, and we don't have any suggestions, but we don't think that's spelled like a real word.
No, well, look, it's a very popular word for the Italians. It's very.
You might want to clear up that you are Italian.
I know. Yes, my father is a quarter of Italian. And we usually make. I'm surprised. I should have, if I was actually thinking. Asking Brian to produce the show and giving him more content, I would have told him to throw up a picture of Mike Tirico, but Mike Tirico hasn't had a comment on this yet. But I'd love to know what he thinks about this as well. My fellow Italian. Politico interviewed two people in the chat and granted them anonymity after they expressed concerns about personal and professional repercussions.
Yeah,
right. Double click on that. Everybody in this chat scared shitless that this shit got out, right? Because it's a decent amount of folks that I maybe do feel a certain way about policy and maybe are like blatantly racist, but they don't want people to know that they're blatantly racist. Where's the one quote in here where some dude is like, yo, you're gonna be at a private law firm and this shit lives forever, right?
Yeah, so while you're digging that up, I want to say, like, initially his response was to deny this, and he's like, "Oh no, these texts are manipulated. They could be out of context, and even if the texts are authentic, they're clearly read as self-deprecating and satirical humor, making fun of the fact that liberals outlandishly routinely call MAGA supporters Nazis."
I don't know why we would ever think that.
Why? I don't know.
This shit just keeps on happening, but.
And he didn't just go after black holidays, right?
Yes.
He later went on to say, never trust a Chinaman or an Indian.
Right.
When talking about Vivek.
Right.
And then Vivek did not want to answer that for whatever. I don't know why he didn't provide a comment. A month later, discussing why some Republicans feel that Democrats make black people into victims, the text show Ingracia remarked, and I am not touching this with a 20-foot pole.
I got you on this one. Blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them, end quote. He then added, according to the chat, quote, proof all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way, end quote. In the first term, Trump used the term shithole countries to describe some African nations and Haiti specifically. As he was talking.
And like at several points throughout these text chains, people say things like, Paul, you're coming across as a white nationalist, which is beneficial to nobody. And then he said that defending our founding isn't white nationalist. And and then he went on to say things about white people building this country, which Bill O'Reilly already made very clear is definitely how that went. But here's the quote that you were looking for. You want to hit him?
Yeah. So hold on, that movie. Did I miss what did I oh, here it is. So the comment prompted the same participant to respond right after he's saying that whites build this country. He said, quote, you're gonna be in private practice one day. This shit will be around forever, brother. End quote.
Yeah. That's definitely one of the people who talked to the newspaper.
Yeah, it's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
you're around forever, brother.
Yeah, he Hulk Hogan
from the beyond. Oh no, Hulk Hogan probably has a choice words to say in this chat too.
Would have fit just right in, yeah.
Right. I think though, it's interesting. I think the folks who were pushing back against this, and I also find it funny as an Italian, right? As this guy is, right? Yo, you should look at the history of Italians in this country.
Even just like within living memory.
In living memory. And the fact this is the larger thing is, they assimilate to become white. Because I'm just like, wait, hold on. Do you know what?
Was there a meeting? I really want to know
when it happens.
Yeah. So like, was there this like meeting, and I'm assuming it was at a country club, where like, the people whose last names end in something the third were like, there seems to be a lot of these Italians around, and what are we going to do about it? Well, I say we grant them whiteness so they'll be on our side. And the other was, that's a great idea.
Grand idea. Grand idea.
Yeah. And then they're just like, call one of them in here right now. Patricio, go and tell your people that you've now been granted whiteness, and you can also shit on all of the other colored people.
It's no longer olive.
Did they have that same conversation for the Irish, or is that sort of like they snuck in?
I don't. It's just a very interesting thing to look at. That's not, to your point, living memory. To just be able to fit into white supremacy that way. But no, I found this chat to be very hilarious because it's like, all right, this is how people actually are like, cool, all right, we know exactly, and maybe not everybody in this chat, because seriously, obviously people were pushing back on that, but it's a decent amount of them, man. It's a decent amount.
They didn't leave. Like, yo, that's a bridge too far. I'm out.
Yeah, I do feel like I remember a time when, like, if anybody would say something like this in any type of public forum, it would be pretty, universally panned and condemned, right? But we're just not living in that timeline any longer.
That's over.
No, and okay, two main thoughts about this. One is, for the love of God, why do these people keep doing things in a recordable fashion?
Right.
Like, stop texting racism or crimes.
They could have at least tried to use Signal so it was encrypted.
They could have, unless they're Lindsay Halligan, in which case she doesn't know how Signal works.
And how many people were in this? It was like hundreds of people in this. It wasn't like a few folks, right? Was there a decent amount of people?
No, this one was smaller. The Young Republicans one was like hundreds.
That was the larger one. Okay.
So one, why are they criming or racisming in a recordable fashion? And two, like, this is the kind of thing where this is peeling back the curtain a little bit. And we are getting to see how these people talk and think when they think nobody is looking. And I got to say, as somebody who looks like me, I have been in places where people, they do the thing where they look around a little bit before they're about to say the worst thing. And they kind of like try to bro you in on it. And they're like, you know how they are. And I'm like, no. And even in those settings where there is no recorded version of this, it's not in a text. And I certainly could say nothing and just carry on with whatever the fuck we're doing. I can't. I mean, no, tell me how they are. Exactly.
Right.
What do you mean? However do you mean they are all of this way? I have never experienced it. You can kind of throw it back at them a little bit. And at the very least, it tells them, all right, stop that shit. We're not doing those jokes around here anymore. You got your one in and shut the fuck up. But this is how they really are. And so when they get all pissed off about us calling them Nazis and racists,
it's like, stop doing Nazi shit.
Yeah.
A little
stop
Nazi
doing
streak
shit
is crazy.
To say something like that
is crazy.
Never once in my life have I ever said anything, equivalent. I don't know. It also tells you about who these people are growing up and who their parents are and like how they were raised or anything like that.
Yeah.
That like nobody just slapped that out of them when they were kids. Like, you can't be that. You just can't be that.
Yeah. And I just think, as far and as much progress has been made, and I was listening to Nicole Hannah-Jones was talking about this just around like the changes that are happening, like dismantling civil rights. But the point she made is like, it hasn't been that long since this country was just like, oh, we hate all of these. Like, we hate obviously hate black folks, hate immigrants at this point, whether it's the Irish, the Italians. You're not that far off from that. And I do think for all the gains, we don't necessarily realize that if they're not enforced, all this can come back again. Like, and it'll come back in droves. Like,
I used to work for a plumbing company that was an Irish-owned plumbing company. Okay. And they had in the office, like as a relic, an old sign that said Irish need not apply.
Right.
And they were keeping that sort of as a trophy of like, we have overcome this.
Yeah.
And not only do we get to apply, but we own the company now. Like, that's a physical, tangible thing that is still not so old that it needs to be in a museum. And that really does carry a lot of weight. And you wouldn't dare catch anybody in that group participating in any kind of a group chat like this because they can all remember,
right?
And they know what it's like to be the never trust a
other
insert here. I mean, just get the fuck out of here. Do you want to keep going or do you want to take a break?
Let's keep going.
All right. This is going to be a fast show. All right. This next segment is called Trump Bullshit, which I guess could be the new name of our show or has been the name of our show.
It could have been the name of the show when I was on it.
Yeah.
It's
probably about
it's kind of half the reason I left. I kind of was just sick of talking about Trump bullshit.
Well,
every week.
Every week. Don't worry.
Don't worry, because we're about to need the impression. So at the end of this little clip here, you're gonna have to be the one.
Boy.
Okay, so as I think most people who have been paying attention to anything know, the East Wing of the White House is no more. It does not exist anymore.
Have you seen the aerial photo from today?
Yeah, I saw it. It's gone.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Congress? All right, that's a dumb question.
It's actually it's quite impressive that it's gone because, like, I'm in the trades. I'm pretty aware of this. It's pretty difficult to do that much demolition and removal that quickly. Like, that's a lot of work. So Trump told everybody he was going to build this ballroom. He's really into balls for some reason. And he wants to build this giant room for them where he can admire. I don't know what he does in his ballroom. I assume he licks them, sweats with them. I don't know, cuddles them, something about balls. So he's been trying to do this, and he told everybody that he was going to
like. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. He told everybody that he was going to do this, and it wasn't going to touch the building, and it wasn't going to be like distasteful or mess up anything, and it wouldn't impact the actual White House at all. But as you know, he has a lot of trouble telling the truth. And so over the course of exactly 4 days, they demolished the entire East Wing and the corridor that connects it to the residence of the White House. And it's just gone now. So the only like positive thing here is that we won't have to look at Melania's like blood trees lining that corridor for Christmas time. But it's and here's the thing. He says none of this is being paid for with taxpayer money. It's all being paid for by private donors or himself.
Worse. I would almost rather our money be used to. I would almost rather that.
Because exactly that. This is a vehicle for grift. This is a vehicle for bribery or worse. There's no regulation. There's no procurement. There's no rules about the contractors, whoever's involved, whether they'll get paid or not. I kind of doubt. But like, if you are foreign government that wants to bribe your way into control of, pick a state nobody cares about, Idaho. This is a pretty good way to buy a state, right? You just grease this project with a few $100 million of that nice free-flowing Gulf money, and you own a airbase in Idaho, which Qatar did. So, like, Fish, can you do the voice?
Right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically. Beautiful construction, though. Beautiful construction.
Yeah. He was going. He keeps talking
You're
about
making room for the Trump superstore right when you walk in.
Levitt even told everybody at the press briefing in the middle of the shutdown that the ballroom is his top priority.
Of course.
Which it does seem to be. Speaking of his gift shop, have you seen what Gavin Newsom's gift shop is selling?
No.
Do you want to know?
What?
Knee pads.
Oh, God.
He's selling knee pads for all the tech CEOs and congressmen and everybody else. They are currently sold out.
I was listening to Jamel Bowie talk about, and he was just talking about this thing, and he made a great point. Like, no matter, there's no affinity I have for the building itself, right?
No.
Right. But I mean, outside of it is one of the branches of government, and I think Americans should be appalled by this. The fact that, again, he doesn't own the White House,
right?
Like, the American people own the White House. The American people own the Capitol building, the American people own the Supreme Court in a sense. That might be the one that's the trickiest. Right, that's the one that's the tricky.
But it's very clearly that Harlan Crow owns
this. Yeah, all right. We'll leave the unelected 9 out of this. But
I also love that, as always, the quote that I just read was said at an event honoring the Louisiana State University and Louisiana State University at Shreveport baseball teams.
Yeah. So,
completely relevant to the topic at hand.
I'm not here to talk about you and your silly baseball. I'm here to talk about me. No, but I think people should be fucking upset about because we're in not so much the building, but the fact that the actual constitution of this country has really been, in a sense, just thrown to the side. I'm not going to say it's dead, right? But Congress should approve any changes to the White House, right? So there should be a formal, there should be something that I saw the Park Services come out and be like, "Hey, yo, hold the fuck up," right? We just don't start butchering
the Park Service.
Right? Who was it?
So the Park Service is in charge of administering the White House, and that runs through the National Capital Planning Authority, which is in charge of all the monuments and everything around here. The problem is that reports up through the Park Service, which reports up through Interior, which is executive branch. Right. And to the question of should people be appalled, this does seem to be something that has caught a lot of flack. And Trump has been in damage control. He's been trying to explain why this is not a big deal and it's totally okay. And the way I would think of it is, well, who's going to have to put it back? Who's going to have to pay to put it back? And it's going to be us. It's going to be the taxpayers. We're going to have to put this back to where it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to work. And that's the sort of thing. That's why when you are the president, your job is to not fuck up the White House as badly as possible, because you're a temporary guest and you got to go. This does feel like one of the very visceral and easily attachable visual aspects of the metaphor of destroying the idea of the people's house and all of this. Right. And it's a thing that is indelibly burned, and people are going to look at this and say, oh, this is evidence of that he doesn't plan to leave.
Right.
Why else would he be doing this, damaging this thing, if he doesn't plan to ever leave?
Yeah, no, I've been
not to mention the optics of it looking like Gaddafi building a fucking despot palace to himself in the middle of the goddamn desert. It just looks stupid, but that's the brand, right? And to the MAGA people, they're all in on this. They're all like, yeah, this is the thing. This is what the country really needs. Farmers are getting clobbered in the markets.
Yeah.
Trump is talking about buying beef from Argentina to offset the costs because producers are finally getting a fair price, and because their costs have been driven through the roof by Trump. And that's the pressing issue. But no, the ballroom, that's just showing he's really willing to use his authority for what's good for this country. You can't say they're not authoritarian and also that they're using the authority the most way in the same breath. You just can't keep doing that.
And I think the media needs to be more I don't think they've been forceful enough on this to say this point of this is undemocratic what's going on. I don't think they've framed it, and it's oh, he's tearing up the White House, he's tearing it. No, that's crazy. It's insane of what he's doing but the problem is, again, it's a friggin' fire hydrant of information that there's no way it's hard to even have the expectation that people what are they going to pick and choose to harp on? But I think this is a huge story.
If you think that's a huge story and you think that's undemocratic, wait till you find out what's going on with the settlement in the DOJ. So, as you know, Trump was prosecuted by the DOJ, investigated. They went and carried back all the documents out of his bathroom. He's very sad about that. And he sued and demanded a settlement from the government, from the U.S. government, for fucking up his life and making it miserable. Now that question of that settlement money is in front of the Department of Justice, which is run by Pam Bondi, who belongs to Trump, as far as I can tell. I think he paid for her from Epstein somewhere, and or she looks like it anyway. And that decision is now his decision to pay himself with our money for a thing that he frivolously was mad about. The grift is no longer like, there's not even a plausible, oh, well, it's coming from private donors. This is straight up, I'm taking $230 million of taxpayer money and sticking it in my motherfucking pocket, and you can't stop me. And who knows where it stops?
I don't think it does stop.
Head Start is run out of money. Those children are not going to school or being fed in many states as of today. How many children could $230 million feed? SNAP is not operating because Mike Johnson is afraid of letting one Republican or one Democratic representative from Arizona come back and vote for a discharge petition to force him to take a vote on the Epstein files. He won't bring Congress back into session, and no progress can be made. Those children are going to be hungry tomorrow.
And SNAP hurts the farmers.
Of course it does.
Yeah,
SNAP hurts the farmers. Those farmers don't have anybody working the Farm Bureau offices. There's 27 of them throughout the country that they can't go to. Trump said he's going to staff them with 2 people each, right at the beginning of planting season, right at the time everybody needs to get their federal crop insurance, their disaster insurance, and any of their payouts for all of their crops that they can't sell because of his fucking tariffs. Where's the help for that? How many people would that $230 million help? And this is where we are.
Yeah.
Now, where is the bridge that is too far? We long past it. But is there something? Tell me there's something that wakes these guys up and goes, all right, that's enough white nationalism in the chat.
What I hope the Democrats, it's somewhere they're doing right now, is eventually, right, somehow, some way, and we think this ends in violence, but there will be a change of power at one point. And I hope the same way that we have these 2025 projects and things that there are some of the smartest and brightest people in this country thinking about how do we harden these laws. We need to learn from this. And obviously the Atlantic has done a story on this about finding a way to amend this damn Constitution and figure, it's clear at this point, we have to push towards that. And I know that sounds far-fetched right now, but these things are going to push people to a breaking point where everybody's going to be like, no, this is, because you have to believe American people will get to that. I feel like the American people eventually always get there. But yeah, someone needs to be thinking what this looks like on the other side. And they'll say it's political retribution, but people should pay for this. People should go to jail.
To Jeff's point earlier, the attention span is so minute.
I know.
That people, once things are, we kind of already had this, right? Trump 1 was remarkably damaging to the economy, to the country, to the republic, to everything. He fucked up everything dastardly. Yeah. Okay. And Biden came and attempted to do exactly what you're saying, right the ship.
I would say his policies will go down still in history. I mean, which ones don't get dismantled?
With the ones that don't get obliterated, right? But like
he just wasn't good at communicating it.
But even like on the international stage, he convinced the rest of NATO and the rest of the world that, okay, the Americans were back and things were going to be serious again. They did have very smart people work on this. They built those cases. They had, everything was absolutely air fucking tight.
He wouldn't kill the filibuster, though. He's a man in the Senate, right? That's what I'm saying. There needs to be radical change at that time.
And he wouldn't seal Team 6, the bad guys, either.
Oh, yeah, well, that's because that's too radical, all right?
Is it, though?
Because
we are really talking about that once things got a little smoother and everybody stopped having to fight for SNAP benefits, the grievance and hatred comes right back. And they all go, oh, yeah. But the real problem is those goddamn immigrants.
And inflation.
Yeah. I mean, look, to your point, Project 2025 taught us a couple of important things. One, you have to be willing to push the rules to the absolute limits if you're going to get your goals completed. Two, every time we tell the Supreme Court or Republicans in the Senate or anything, be careful what you put in because the shoe might be on the other foot one day. We have to be ready the second the shoe's on the foot to exercise that shit. And obliterate that filibuster, push the stuff through the Senate, use the immunity powers granted by the Supreme Court.
They've been given.
Do the things. and we just need somebody who's got the fucking balls to do it, and do it as hard and as solidly as they're doing it to us now. And it isn't a tit for tat, and it isn't a retribution. It's like if you built a great big Millennium Falcon Lego set, right? And you're so proud of this, and then your fucking little brother comes and smashes it all up. And you're like, God damn it. What do you do? Well, first you beat his ass, and then you put your fucking Legos back together, but you glue them that time. And you don't let him anywhere near the fucking Legos again. That's what has to happen, metaphorically.
Yes. Yeah, it's clear as day. I mean, like, I hope I don't know when it might be. Who knows? I know you expect them to be in power, to not leave, and I hope it doesn't get to that. But eventually there will be something else. Yeah, and these laws need to be hardened to a way like we need to relook at like what do we want this country to stand for? Because it's clearly not this. I don't think anybody in America. I mean, there's a small minority. It's clear. The polling shows that as well. People like, this is crazy. Like, it's crazy.
The people who like it don't really like it either, because they splinter and fracture within their groups and stuff.
I think of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, you can look.
Exactly.
That's a good example.
After further review, the play stands. The Republicans have the ball. Keep it moving.
Wow, Jesus Christ.
Oh. I do like to see that you've come around to my sort of way of thinking on this, Chip. I feel like back in the day, Trump was doing this and Trump was doing that. And your response would always be like, yeah, but we have laws in place to prevent this from happening. There's checks and balances in place for this reason. And I remember sitting over here being like, I don't think he cares about any of that. And I think we're about to test how well those checks and balances really hold up. And I think we found out that, like, well, if you have somebody who doesn't care about them, they really
well,
don't.
You were right. And I have very definitely come around to that side. And now that leaves Tez standing alone, believing in the checks and balances and the laws and
the American people.
I believe in
the American people, and I believe this will end in violence.
The American people are busy trying to figure out what the fuck 6-7 means. Okay, the American people aren't coming to help us.
Eventually, will come to their doorstep. It'll come to everyone's doorstep, and it just hasn't hit enough people. Right now, it's like, oh, immigrants, and they're like the Venezuelans or Mexican migrants. Like, that's who it's on their doorstep, and like obviously, black people, we always like, yeah, it's always on our doorstep, whatever. But eventually, it will come to others. It will come to others' doorsteps, and I think.
You want to know how I know you're British?
Yeah,
because
British and Italian.
Yeah, he's like a passport carrying Brit. You're quoting Churchill in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else.
I believe that. I believe that. I believe that strongly in the people of this country, that they will eventually, because they've come around before on some wilder things.
See, that's why immigration is vital. And we need people like you moving to our country.
It's interesting. Immigrants are the ones who do feel like all my American friends, specifically my American friends who are black. They're like, shut up. You believe in this stupid ass shit? You think this is going to be changed? And I'm like, well, wait, no. Americans have changed it before. And it's almost un-American not to feel that way. It feels like it's like that exceptionalism has been, and Donald Trump is the one who's driven that out of people. He's the one that said America isn't that great, and we got to make. I've never seen a president come into office in 2016 and be like, America isn't what it's cracked up to be. And it's like, what? Wait, hold on. What do you mean? The president doesn't say that. The president doesn't say that. He does.
And to your point about immigrants, you're right about that, right? Of course, you don't find anybody more, the zeal of the convert, so to speak, right?
Right.
That those who come here and make a choice to be American and become citizens and invest their lives in this country are in some ways more actively American than people who were born here, because we didn't choose this. And we just happened to be here when we were born. Whereas if you make the journey and you make the struggle, you wanted it, right? You want it more.
But just being born here, you were a citizen, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy concept.
Maybe not anymore.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true.
We'll see what
see.
ECB has to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how like currently the Republicans are all mad about Jay Jones and his texts about like shooting people or whatever.
I love watching those. The VA elections, those commercials. Because I'm watching football, and the Jay Jones. He's cooked.
He's cooked, but it's not touching Spanberger at all.
No, hell no.
But the main thrust of this whole thing is that Democrats and the left wing in particular are violent and dangerous. And you know, you saw that in the run up to the No Kings rallies, that everybody was saying on Fox News. They were like, "Oh, this is going to be violent. This is going to be dangerous." There was no violence. Nobody got hurt. And so, you know, but their narrative is that. And the facts don't matter in their case. But here's some, so in case people are listening, that they might want to know, that a man pardoned by Donald Trump for storming the Capitol on January 6th was arrested last week for threatening to kill Hakeem Jeffries. Ooh, that's him?
Whoa. Hold on.
Wow. Brian. You can't just throw stuff at us like that. You gotta warn
is he already in prison? That's a prison outfit he has on already. Oh, it's the same. Oh, that's the outfit he wore.
No, that's the outfit he wore.
That's the outfit he wore into the damn.
He chose. What's up with that haircut?
He bites people, obviously.
Yeah, clearly.
He clearly bites people.
Wow.
That's jarring. He's sullied the Moynihan name.
Yeah. Clearly not related to Daniel Patrick. All right, so Christopher Moynihan, that fucking guy.
That's crazy.
So he was convicted of breaching the Senate floor and tearing through various desks. And then, you know, the FBI was like, yeah, it's a fucking guy. They got him on tape. And they threw him in the slammer for a while. And then he got out because Trump pardoned him and everybody else like him for attacking the Capitol. Let's see. Where's this quote? Okay, court records reflect that the FBI's tipster, who turned him in this time, told the Bureau that on October 17th, that's like last week,
right?
Moynihan, quote, made statements regarding the assassination of Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and that he planned to carry out the attack, quote, in a few days while the Democratic House leader was in New York. The person told the FBI that Moynihan described the motivation for the plot as, quote, the future, and voiced concern that the man given clemency by Trump had been abusing drugs and expressing increasingly homicidal ideations. Now, remember that the left wing, in wanting to feed children who are hungry in the morning when they go to preschool, are the violent criminals. And these guys who got pardoned are patriots because they're plotting to kill the minority leader of the House of Representatives. That's the world we're in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think maybe it's interesting because I do think when they were pardoned, we did say, wait till we see them turn up again. I feel like we talked about this on the show.
Oh,
we were just like, oh no, eventually these people are they are who they are.
Moynihan is one of a growing list of Jan 6 defendants who have been charged with, convicted of, or sentenced for other crimes since Trump ended the nationwide manhunt. One of them, Edward Kelly, was sentenced to life in prison earlier this year for attempting to carry out an assassination plot against law enforcement officials who investigated him over his role in the riot. You know, a patriot.
Patriot. Is states' rights working?
Others have faced burglary, possession of child porn, firearms-related charges, but Moynihan is the first J6 defendant accused of explicitly targeting a member of Congress for violence after Trump's pardon. So, you know, he wanted to stand out.
Man, what do you mean the first person that's targeting a member of Congress? The leader of J6 targets people of Congress on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but he's busy with his balls room.
That's true. That's true. Christ.
Okay. This one is an international one, and it's our last story before the outro, unless we want to hit any of the betting in the NBA stuff.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to not touch that?
I don't know. We might want to wait till next week because it seems like we're
maybe,
just tipping the iceberg.
I just need I need 2 more days for more shit to drop.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I just want to say, like, for the record, I'm shocked that it's Chauncey Billups. Like, of all the people.
I mean, I just think, when you a poker game, you just don't know who you're playing with, but I think you should know if you're playing with the mob. But does the mob come in and like, hey, I'm the mob? Like, they don't announce, but yeah, it's not good.
He just seems like such a, like, the sort of like
even-keeled person that's not involved in that.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, if you'd have told me it was Rodman or somebody who's like known for being wild or something like that, okay.
But he's a high-level competitor, and I think the gambling is one of those things where, like, and we
coaching the fucking Blazers. There's
know
no more competitive thing than being a head coach of an NBA team.
But I think people might always be chasing that edge, and I do think coaching is different than playing in an NBA game. And these players have been doing this on the back of planes forever. They've been putting up. Players lose $250,000 on the plane coming home from places like those aren't. So gambling has always been there. I just think right now what people don't understand is with the leagues in bed with the DraftKings, the FanDuels, they have a lot of data that's getting shared back and forth. And your bookie wasn't going to go fucking tell the fucking NBA that you're fucking doing this. But you know who might? DraftKings. It might share that fucking data.
A recently pinched mobster.
Yeah.
Or so, yeah.
And
all right, so we'll come back to that story next week when we get back. Okay, so let's talk about this international story. As you know, there are things called refugees. They are usually fleeing some sort of dangerous scenario where things are, very untenable. There's a war, there's a famine, there's both. There's
black people.
Destruction. Maybe a volcano has erupted, hurricanes, earthquakes. All kinds of stuff, right? And there is a UN charter on refugees. There's all kinds of rules about kind of how this works. And the United States has been famously the lead on refugees for a long time. We even have a Tom Petty song about it, where how you don't have to live like a refugee, right? And so when Trump came back, the refugee program stopped dead in its tracks. Nobody's getting in. Doesn't matter if you were already pre-approved. It doesn't matter if you were on the plane on your way here. Turn the plane around. You're not coming in. We don't want no dirty, dangerous refugees. They're all a bunch of fucking criminals anyway, and blah, blah, blah. Right?
This is what was said. Yeah.
Turns out there's a certain category of refugees that the United States is going to let in. What kind of refugees is that?
Cameroonians.
Oh, maybe.
No.
It is possible. You could be born in Cameroon and be this.
No, it's our good friends, the Afrikaners.
Yeah. And European.
7,000 of them, right?
Yes. So they're just white people. Only white people are allowed. The Trump administration planned to overhaul the U.S. refugee resettlement process, including a drastic reduction in overall annual admissions, coincides with a concerted effort to prepare thousands of white South Africans to relocate to the United States through that same system, according to documents that the Washington Post came up with this week. If the administration succeeds, almost all of the people admitted to the U.S. as refugees, as many as 7,000 from a maximum potential pool of 7,500, so I don't know who those 500 are that get left behind, could be Afrikaners, a group not traditionally eligible for the program, but one that Donald Trump has been tyrannized by South Africa's black majority. I'm sorry, I couldn't even read that sentence.
It's crazy. Yeah, it is a crazy sentence. It's a crazy sentence.
The State Department has set a goal of processing 2,000 Afrikaners for resettlement by the end of October and an additional 4,000 by the end of November. Oh, so they can do it. Well, what if they're shut down? Can they do that?
Of course.
Of course they can, right? They can find the money for that. What are they fleeing?
I think this is part of a larger mission, which is so crazy because there's no data behind this, to recast white people as the afflicted, like this, that's who, like whether it's the dismantle of the civil rights laws that are happening here, or like obviously doing it under the DEI guys. They're trying to recast white folks as the real people who are being harmed, that have always been harmed. And I think that is scary, because that then, with the full, like, if you take it this way, right? If you take it to flip and say, all right, with the full force of the federal government and what it was able to do for Black people, right? And like, in the sense of like, oh, the state is against like integrating your school, so we're going to send the federal government, the full force, to force you to do that. If that is ever flipped, that's scary. And that's a time none of us have ever lived in.
Well, we may be just about to live through it.
Might be there.
As you and I were discussing offline this week regarding voting rights in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Where a group of non-Black, I think they called themselves not African-American Voters for America or something like that, brought their lawsuit and said that the fact that they are in these majority minority districts violates their constitutional rights. And they cited the 14th and 15th Amendments as their rationale for this. 14th Amendment being that everybody's afforded equal access and representation, or I'm sorry, equal access and due process under the law. And the 15th being guaranteed the right to vote and have representation. That they're saying, well, look, we're stuck in these Black districts and we, our vote never matters. We're being discriminated against. And they might win on that.
That's frightening.
Well,
that's a fright. I mean, to you, because those laws, again, if you're like, judges should interpret the laws. If you're talking about originalism, right? If that's what everybody wants to talk about, those, like, how are they going to co-opt the 13th? Someone tell me that. Like, how are they going to get? How are they going to get that one? If they, how are they going to get
the 14th and 15th is already pretty disgusting enough.
It is. It's just it's diabolical, because the courts will rubber stamp this. And we've seen before when the courts decide to do this, right? I mean, if you look at after Reconstruction, right, and the courts start saying, "Hey, no, it's okay to discriminate," like on the reverse, like the courts can stamp things, they can make things into law, they can change things, like, and I think
a very simple version of this, it is that the argument is essentially that if democracy is real and everybody's equal, then you can draw districts no matter what, and people need to compete on the merits of their ideas, and there should be nothing set aside and nothing protected, and that's just it. And we've already had that, and we saw that it meant that Black folks didn't get represented at all, and so there had to be an exception to the absolutism of one man, one vote, in order to reset and rebalance things in a way that is somewhat representative of the state itself. I mean, and in the Louisiana case, what you're looking at is a state that has 6 seats. It's 35% Black, and there was only one district that was Black, and that's not a third. And so the court said, no, you got to draw this in a way that's proportional. Well, it's proportional statewide, but it isn't proportional at that district level. And if you really want to get down to it, okay, so then is it proportional at the state district levels and all of this? We are really talking about, like, you can make the argument, you're a Democrat voting in Texas for president, your vote doesn't matter either. You're getting washed out. You're being discriminated against, right? And they're making that same argument. We're white folks in a Black district. We're being discriminated against. Our votes never get counted. That's a compelling argument if you're Sam Alito and neighbor Clarence. Yeah. The question is it a compelling argument if you're ACB, Ken Brett, or John Roberts? And John Roberts drew the 2nd district in Louisiana in his ruling just a few years ago. So
and he's not a fan of he's not a fan, right, of the Voting Rights Act. He's not a fan of that.
Right. So he smashed the Voting Rights Act in the first place, but then he was the one that sent this back and said that they had to redraw this. So, he's kind of a toss-up. But listen, if you're going to make that case, be prepared for the flip side of that case, right? Don't be out here complaining that Republicans don't get representation in places like New York. If you think that the gerrymandering redistricting that you see going on in response to Trump's call for help in Texas, Missouri, and other places, North Carolina, don't think that can't come for you. And just because it's happening in California, Virginia got into it today. Okay. You've got states, North Carolina is one of them, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, to some extent, Michigan. These are states that have more Democrats than Republicans by registration, but the Republicans have managed to gerrymander themselves districts in the state houses where they control the districts in the Congress that not only give them majorities, but give them supermajorities. That can change, and it will. And if you think that you can't draw yourself into competitive districts now, and remember that Republicans couldn't get control of the House for 40 years, it could basically be, if we are really going to talk about this country, one man, one vote. Well, it's vastly Democratic. Yeah. And they will just never be in power once things get fixed that way. So again, it's all this, be careful once the shoe's on the other foot. Fucking put that shoe on my foot and I'll stomp the shit out of them. We got to be ready, and we got to hit them as hard as they hit us.
I think for now, though, you'll end up seeing, right, and we're seeing this already in the federal government, the amount of black folks that are in top positions, or that is dwindling. And then when that chilling effect starts to ripple throughout the economy, where you'll see this in law firms, right? What the federal government now has their thumb on the scale of so many industries on there, that if they perceive you're doing some crazy DEI shit, or you're trying to balance out, like, pick whatever profession, they can clearly put the full force of the federal government. The magnifying glass can come over you, and it will fucking burn you. The sun will burn you, right? Like ants.
Do you really want to watch all white basketball? Because that sucks.
Look. Hey, look.
I mean, imagine Duke versus Duke all the time. Nobody wants to watch that.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds very bad. But hey, look, the NFL stood up for Bad Bunny the other day. That was surprising.
Good.
I'm surprised
the NFL's untouchable.
Dignified that with a response, but
right. It's kind of crazy. I was like, word. I was like, just put the fucking show on and ignore it. But there are people. I don't know. People are clearly afraid. But yeah, the shoe will be on the other foot one day. And again, hopefully the Democrats don't. What do you call it? What is it? Miss opportunity. What's the phrase they always say?
Snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
It doesn't seem like Democrats are ever gonna do that, right? They're never gonna be as extreme on that side. I think they're always trying to work to find some middle, and that's what's whether that's what's killing it, but that's what
See that guy in New
York.
York
Thing to do, but if both sides need to play that way.
Well, and I saw something that sort of draws this equivalent, right? There isn't such a thing as a far left in America. The far left in America is objectively maybe even center right if you measured it against the politics in the rest of the world. It's just that it looks like that because the country itself is so right wing that it just doesn't make it. But yeah, the thing that makes us squishy liberals is that we're not ready to fight. And what you need is somebody like me, maybe as benevolent dictator, who's out there willing to kick some ass and call people names and do all that shit, because that's how you fucking win. Just saying, make me in charge of something besides this stupid show.
That finished in 2 hours today.
Speaking of which,
crazy.
You hear the music, right? So we want to say thank you to Jeff Pearlman for being so cool and hanging out with us. We cannot wait to have him back. Please go buy his book, Only God Can Judge Me.
He's never coming back on the
show. Let's be honest.
He's never coming back.
He's definitely coming back. He already emailed me.
No.
Yeah. He's fantastic. And that was great. We do have an actually pretty good slate of guests coming up in November, so stay tuned for that. I've finally managed to get that working. Fish, thank you for coming back to hang out with us.
It was awesome.
Maybe sometime in the future, can we get Pierre Delecto to come back?
Ha ha ha!
It was like the best bit you ever came up with by a lot. It's also the dumbest for sure.
Mitt.
Yeah. Thanks to our radio partners, Google, whatever the hell is happening in Brazil that for some reason got us 1 million listens. Also Kyrgyzstan, of all places.
To internet, man.
We've got fans in Kyrgyzstan. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, maybe. Don't know. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio and at Rip Radio for making us sound as smooth as Shohei Ohtani's orbital homers. All right. World Series is starting. Who's going to win? Fish.
Unfortunately, I do think the Dodgers will win, but I'm pulling for the Jays.
Okay. Tez?
I think the Dodgers are going to sweep them.
Sweep. Okay.
Oh, the sweep.
I think it's the Dodgers in 5. The Jays will probably get one back, but gotta root for the Brooklyn homies, man. That's just where my family lies on that one. Also, fuck Canada. All right.
Oh God. Real Kendrick Lamar over there.
Don't redo that one, please.
We are
a little too on the nose already. All right, Fish, where can everybody follow you on the socials and keep in touch with what all you're up to these days?
You know what? You can check out my old band, Bells and Hunters, at Bells and Hunters on all the social medias.
There you go. All right, Tez, where can everybody catch you on all the stuffs?
Exposed. A Pfizer scientist battles corruption, lies, and betrayal and becomes a biohazard whistleblower. You can find me on Blue Sky at DC Cortez.
All right, you can find me on the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find me on Blue Sky with my old Twitter handle at Chef Chip. And you can find us most Thursday nights, every Thursday night at 9:30 here on Beltway Radio and on Rip Radio, since we're on both live all the time. I'm Chip. That's Tez. That's Fish. Brian's in the background. Thank you to Jeff Proman. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Talking books again.
I'll eat Mitch McConnell.
Here trying to save the republic like Tez on the golf course. It ain't private, just public. When we have a drink in the bar, it's not beer, it's a public. It's hard to get something to rhyme with this subject. If we get famous, we can give a shout out to Brian. To get us out on time is what he be trying. The show is like a custom feathered avian that knows words. How can we stay late when our guest is Illy Bird? In conclusion, the message is to go out and serve folks, whether that's through art, music, or if you just tell jokes. Seek to medicate your ears, hope you eradicate your fears. Thanks for sticking with us through all these years.